Now, to a vote in the United States which could have wide-reaching consequences for the country's politics. Despite a two-week protest by Democratic lawmakers, Republicans in the lower house of the Texas legislature have voted to approve new congressional maps. They're aimed at giving their party as many as 5 new seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. The state Senate is expected to follow suit. Right now, Texas has 25 Republicans and 12 Democrats in the House. The redrawing of districts has sent ripples across the country as governors from both parties threaten similar moves in their states to win more seats.
With a swing of the gavel, Texas Republicans have likely secured themselves 5 more districts.
The following announcement.
Democratic lawmakers had staged a 2-week walkout to delay the vote. But in the end, the Republican majority won out. Pending the approval of Texas's Republican Senate and governor, the state will have a new congressional district map going into next year's midterm elections. Republicans say they're playing by the rules, but Democrats are calling it an attack on democracy.
Floor today with this call of the House.
Let me be clear. This is Donald Trump's map. It is clearly and deliberately manufactures 5 more Republican seats in Congress because Trump himself knows the voters are rejecting his agenda. And instead of respecting that rejection, he's changing the rules. Instead of listening to the people, he's trying to silence them. And Texas Republicans have been more than willing to help.
The debate about the redistricting process, also known as gerrymandering, has spread across the U.S. Democrats and their supporters believe Donald Trump will pressure Republicans in other states where they have a majority to use gerrymandering to keep the party in power. But Democrats are also fighting back. The party enjoys a majority in the state of California, and they are on track to pass their own redrawing there.
We divide less cities, less communities. We're more compact, but we also identify 5 seats held by Republicans that likely could be electing a Democrat if these maps were adopted.
What happens in Texas could have a major impact on national politics, as both Republicans and Democrats eye next year's midterm elections, and the fight over the U.S. House of Representatives. Republicans currently control the House by a mere 3 seats, and with redistricting in play, the fight is already on.
Well, for more on this, we can talk now with Brandon Bohrn. He's a political analyst with the Berteslmann Foundation. Brandon, to many people outside the United States, this practice of redistricting may seem highly dubious. Can you explain the legal framework that allows it?
Well, that's completely understandable. It is legal, but from an outsider's perspective, normally in a democracy, you would want your voters to decide their representatives, not for your representatives to decide your voters. It's entirely legal. The Supreme Court has made several decisions on this over the last 20 years. The definitive decision at least for the foreseeable future is the 2019 Supreme Court decision that basically said this is a political issue. It comes down to the states. Some states have decided to introduce bipartisan commissions to avoid partisan gerrymandering. Obviously, Texas has decided to go in a different direction. But where you start to get into issues is it's with something called racial gerrymandering. And it's where redistricting takes place and it dilutes the voice of minority communities. And this is where we get into the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
Now, Democrats and civil rights groups argue that the new maps would weaken the voting power of minority groups, just as you described, potentially violating federal law, and that they've threatened to sue. Do you think they could succeed if they do pursue legal action?
Well, if you look at the state of Texas, the Latino and Black community now makes up a slight majority of the overall population of the state. It's these communities are responsible for the growth of this state over the last several years. These types of policies dilute their vote. It doesn't reflect the growth of these communities. If you take, let's say, San Antonio's 35th district, not only is the Democratic vote share going to be reduced by over 30% based on these redistricting plans, these very diverse communities are going to lose their vote as well. Now, the Supreme Court has, via the Voting Rights Act, voted against racial gerrymandering in the past. Even within the last couple of years in Alabama, there was a very important case where the black vote was at risk in that state, and the Supreme Court voted no on that redistricting. Having said that, the Republican lawmakers in Texas have been very careful to frame this as a partisan advantage argument. And again, via the Supreme Court, that's perfectly legal in the United States of America. So I do anticipate the Democrats will have a little bit of difficulty moving forward with these cases.
Now, Republicans, including President Donald Trump, have openly acknowledged that the new map is aimed at increasing their political power. How concerning is that?
Well, it's very concerning. I mean, if you take the state of Texas, again, 38 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives, Republicans currently hold 25 of those seats, and they'll be getting a further 5 seats based on this policy. Now, when you look at the makeup of the U.S. House of Representatives, as we said earlier, the Republicans have a very narrow majority. That's, it will be decided by a number of states. 5 seats are already being decided before a vote is even cast in next year's midterms, and this could have a knock-on effect throughout the United States, where redistricting is also maybe considered mid-decade.
Well, now the Republicans have succeeded with this in Texas. Democrats who hold a majority in California are on track to pass their own redistricting plan. Where do you see things heading from here? Will other states follow suit with their own redistricting efforts, do you think?
Well, exactly. California, the state legislature is considering the so-called Election Rigging Response Act on Thursday. And this is a direct response to what's happening in Texas. And if this goes through, five districts will swing from Republican to Democrat in that state. That case alone is concerning, but you're indeed seeing a knock-on effect throughout the United States, where individual states, Republicans and Democrats, governed by Republicans and Democrats, are considering similar measures. Florida, Ohio, Indiana, New York, Maryland, Illinois. So this is very much a race to the bottom. And, going back to your initial question about the international perspective of the United States, I think another one is that the United States is very divided. These types of policies only increase that divide. Red states become redder, blue states become bluer, and the divide within American politics and American society only becomes more entrenched.
We have the midterm elections coming up next year. How many states might end up making changes that could impact that election before it takes place?
Well, you have California, of course, that's considering that this is almost certainly going to take place over the course of the year. But again, Ron DeSantis down in Florida, the governor there, is considering similar actions. Ohio, Illinois, New York, Maryland. I mean, several states are considering these types of actions. And again, given the House of Representatives is really the prize going into next year's midterms, it will be decided by a number of very contested seats. Again, this type of policy inherently undermines American democracy.
Brandon, thank you very much. That was Brandon Bohrn, political analyst with the Berteslmann Foundation.
Thank you very much. Take care.